live there. Boom. Okay, the new stream is in the Discord. Check that. Should be going. Alrighty. Okay, we are officially live. We have working audio. We have a screen. We have working video so far. And let's get into it. Let's leave a second for our fan club to join the live chat here. Got it posted in the Discord. We're good to go. And as you guys can see, for episode number 5, I have got the legend, the 2-time champion, the defending champ, with the trophy in the background, that beautiful trophy that we're all vying for. We got the Mr. Beast.
Thank you very much, Ryan. I am very happy to be here.
It's amazing to have you. It's good to get someone that knows how to win in these. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like you say, 4 out of 6 are on this chat right now.
4 out of 6. I mean that's a pretty large ratio, right? Not to feed our own egos too much, but no. Out of 10 league members, having 66% of the trophies within 2 is those are 2 outliers right there. So we call that
pretty impressive. What's going?
Uh-oh, you're frozen. We might have
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm not getting any video. Do you hear me?
Would it help at all if I went off of Wi-Fi and onto LTE?
I think it's worth trying. Yeah, I think that's definitely worth trying.
Hold on 1 second.
For sure. Okay, we're getting the Beast back momentarily. I might have to resend this URL to him real quick. In the meantime, to keep you guys entertained in the chat, let me send a message. Let me send a message to Mr. Scott Hornung of the DCs, of the Deep Diving with the DCs podcast. DC, you've got to stop asking me to do your podcast because I don't want to be on it. I don't want to give. First of all, I don't want to give away my secrets. I don't want you guys copying me. I don't want all that parody in the league. But I also just don't want to do your podcast. I don't want to spend an hour talking to you because you disrespect my team. So stop asking me to be on. I know I'm the most wanted guest in the league, but please, I'm not going to do it. Okay. Alrighty, let's send this email out to Mr. Boydock here. So, boom. Let's get a new link. Okay, there he is. All right, I got you back. You hear me?
I can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, video looks good on your end right now.
Good.
Cleared up and everything. All right, perfect. I was just telling the chat room, or whoever's watching live, that I don't want to be on the Deep Diving with the DCs podcast, and I'm refusing the open invitation that is out to me right now. I said no.
Will Scott ever be on this program?
He really wants to be on. Like he's been begging me since week 1, but there's just more important guests. So I mean, maybe if everybody says no, but so far no one has said no. I've never been turned down.
Well,
so
I'm always I'm thrilled. I know, and probably the others are thrilled to talk about this league. It's one of the best around, so it's great to talk about it.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of fantasy football leagues, I put our league up against anyone's league,
Absolutely.
and that is the straight up truth right there. Let's jump into this week. And you know what? Not to toot my own horn, but potentially the most exciting matchup of the week is the rye bread versus the Krispy Kreme. Head to head, tight matchup. Ever since kickoff on Sunday morning, we've been going at it back and forth. We got a 136 to 129 right now. I'm up by just over 6 points with Keenan Allen playing a half to go. Out of the game with a back injury, but I'm holding this lead against Chris with Ryan Tannehill going tomorrow night. So can I get your thoughts on the matchup and then your thoughts on tomorrow's night game? Is it going to happen? Um, I know you're starting a couple Bills slash Titans players. What do you think?
I think the game is going to be played, and I think you got screwed uh, with Allen going down because Tannehill's going to get 8 points at least, and it would have been something if you had a 20-point lead, and that would have been very exciting. But I don't see Tannehill, barring injury, getting less than 8. So I think, unfortunately, you got screwed tonight with an injury.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Buffalo's got one of the better defenses, so Tannehill's probably going to have a little bit some issues opposed to who he normally faces. But I
Right.
was thinking 15 points would be like
And
more attainable.
with Tennessee not practicing for so long, they're going to go to the run. So I think Derrick Henry's in for a big night, but I still think Tannehill scrambling with yards, and he'll probably get one touchdown pass. So I don't see him not getting 8 points. But I want to touch on another subject on this game. I look at your quarterbacks. I think that what's his name from the Jones from the Giants. I think every week he is your QB5. And if I were you, there's no way I would start that guy
Hmm.
ever. So I just don't know what you're thinking about that. Were you just totally going matchup because of Cowboys? I'm
Um,
guessing.
yeah, it was all matchup with him. I mean, I obviously sat Allen because my guess was that that game was going to be off based on
Well, I
Tennessee
get that.
hits.
Right.
So Allen was the sit, and then I'm
Yeah.
looking at three spots, four quarterbacks for one spot. Goff,
Right.
Mayfield, and Jones, three quarterbacks for one spot. And
Right.
I sat Mayfield because he was playing Indianapolis was the main
Yeah.
reason. I thought Indy had a good enough defense to shut him down. I really thought Jones would
Right.
outperform Mayfield there, and I really should have played Goff. That was
That
my
would have
my big
been,
mistake.
if I were you, that would have been my play exactly, to play Goff over Jones. So you certainly had the talent to win this game, but Chris might get lucky with that move and with that injury, um, which is a surprise. That's a
Yeah,
that's a that's an upset in this league.
it's a legit upset, and
Yeah,
who would have thought that Chris could be moving on to 4-1? You know, this in his first season, unbelievable.
and that is pretty impressive. And he's going to put up, I don't know how many points this week. 140 something, and I don't know. That can win a lot of games. So he could be a 500 team for sure.
100%. I
Um,
mean, he's already setting himself well for a playoff spot at this
yeah,
point. I mean, I'm predicting right now that 7-6 is definitely going to be playoffs, and 6-7 even has a shot. So really, only needing to go 3-7 the rest of the season, or whatever it is, 3-6 the rest of the season.
right.
That's or 3-5. That's I mean, he can be under 500, like well under 500, and still make the playoffs if he gets
And
this
still
game.
do it. And that's because I think in this league we've got a lot of teams who are going to be heading south. Uh, so just by process of elimination, I think any team that goes that 7-6 route will be in pretty good shape.
100%. And my thinking too was there's going to be a ton of variability with the records at the end of the season. I think we're going to have teams that are 12-1, and also teams that are potentially 1-12, 2-10. And when you get that kind of variability, it makes those bottom playoff spots easier for teams that are even sub 500 to make, because you don't
Exactly.
have like five teams that are tied at 8-8 or 9-7,
Yep.
whatever it is. You have insane variability in those limits, to where that
And
middle section is opened up.
and before we're done, I can tell you my rankings, 1 through
Okay,
12, and we don't have to do it now, but I can tell you how everything's going to turn out.
we got Nostradamus.
That's
I haven't
right.
read Nostradamus over, but let's go ahead and let's go through these the set of games we currently had in week 5, and then we'll get into the rankings. Let's go ahead and go in order here. How about your matchup with Austin? What, can you give me the rundown?
Um, I was worried at the beginning because I think Austin's got a good team, and but as the week went on, here's a little fact. My lowest score before tonight and before tomorrow's game, which I have players, my lowest score was Lamar Jackson. Even my
Damn.
kicker outscored him. So when that happens, you're going to have a pretty good week. So I've got everybody doing well, and I've scored several touchdowns, and so my team performed. And Austin ran into some trouble with low output from McLaurin and Jefferson and Schultz, so I got lucky with that. So yeah, it's going to be as it turns out, it's going to be an easy win. Although it was one that I didn't know that I would win going into it, but that's how it goes. Sometimes your guys perform and the other guys don't, and
That's true.
it gets canceled tomorrow. I'm still going to win.
You're still good to go, 100%. Yeah, you just straight up
I think
produced
so.
at the position players. You got to be stoked about
Yep.
DK Metcalf. He looked amazing
He,
last night.
DK Metcalf, I think is becoming a top 5 receiver in the NFL, which is surprising to me. I knew he would be good and he'd get a lot of attention, a lot of red zone stuff because he's so big, but he's becoming Seattle's number 1. And like I said, you saw him last night. That was phenomenal. They knew what was going to go there and they couldn't stop him, and it was great.
Yeah,
And so it's
Th-
pretty nice to have.
yeah, 3 straight targets to end the game. Second, third,
Hmm.
and fourth down all went to Metcalf. That was pretty cool
Yep.
with that. But
And
yeah,
and like I said, Minnesota knew it was going to go there, and you still couldn't stop them. And that's a sign of a great receiver. And I have that in Metcalf. I have that in Devontae Adams. In the red zone, I have that in Mike Evans. Tom
hmm
Brady loves Mike Evans, and then and so I've got 3 receivers that, when it comes down to it, are guys that everybody knows they're going to throw to, and they still catch the ball. So that's nice
hmm
to have. That's a
yeah,
big thing.
I agree 100%. My
Yep.
only closing thought on this matchup is with Austin's team. If Austin's gonna have this kind of variability in his scoring, where he's gonna be putting up 100, just over 100 points on the low end, I don't think that looks good for him going forward. Personally, I mean, I expect Austin seems to obviously do better in the weeks going forward. But if he's still going to be producing these kinds of weeks every once in a while, I don't necessarily like that going forward. I think he's a playoff team. We'll get to the rankings later, I guess. But surprisingly low output this week. See if he gets that
Exactly.
going next week.
And that's the thing. Like, I would like players like Terry McLaurin. I would put his floor at 12 to 15 points, and he only had 5 this week. But I can't believe he only scored 5 this week because he's that kind of receiver. Justin Jefferson, I get, but yeah. So he certainly, and that Robinson from Jacksonville underperformed this week.
hmm
Um, that guy only had 10 points, and I think he's going to be a 15 to 20 point guy a week. So yeah, but yeah, that is kind of weird because that's why I was worried about it, because I thought Austin would be scoring, in the 150s every week. But yeah, I guess he has those low ends sometimes.
hmm Yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. This is
Yeah.
a big matchup. The next one, a lot to say about both these teams going forward. What their season's gonna look like. We got Brendan going against Johnny, the heroes against Madden's Ultimate Team here. Johnny is gonna end up winning this game by roughly 90-ish points. It looks like.
Right. And that's pretty sad. I, Now, I will say too that Brendan, he had a huge injury with Dak, but I mean, what's that going to be? An extra 15 points? So I mean, he would still get beat by 80 if Dak played the whole game, and that's the.
Mhm.
But I think that shows a couple of things. I think every team, I shouldn't say every team, most teams are going to have those down weeks, like Brendan, like Austin. But I don't see Johnny ever having a down week. I mean, granted, it's 200 points, but I think a down week for Johnny's going to be 165,
Mhm.
and that's unbelievable. Uh, that's going to be hard to beat.
I agree. I mean, I think it comes down to targets. I mean, his team is just so heavily targeted in every aspect. He has like DeAndre Hopkins. And, this week he really didn't even have. He wasn't even at full strength. I mean, obviously, I mean Claypool's the guy to talk about in his lineup, but also being out Julio Jones, didn't start John Brown, a lot of those guys.
Well, that's
But
the thing. What if he had a healthy Julio Jones? And I mean, Claypool will probably get some starts because it seems like Claypool is going to get more targets in
mm,
Pittsburgh than Smith Schuster.
hmm
And could you imagine if he had a healthy Julio Jones and played Claypool this week? That
oh
would be
God,
unbelievable.
yeah, yeah, it's
You know,
something else. But just I think it starts at the quarterback position. He's got arguably the two best quarterbacks in the league in
well,
Dynasty.
when I played him a couple of weeks ago, I said, I was up against it because he had a great week from Mahomes, and that was when Russell Wilson had 14 touchdown passes in the first 3 weeks of the season. He in the NFL, he had quarterback one and quarterback two for the whole league, and which is, yeah, how are you going to beat that? In a two quarterback league, yeah, that's like, he's starting with 50, 60 points with two players, so it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat Johnny. The only
Yep.
thing that I've been saying since the season started, since the free agent draft, since those days, is he has a depth issue. Going forward on the
Yep.
on the bench, so he's a team that could obviously be hurt by bye weeks and injuries. And once we get
Yeah.
down to week 10 onwards too, just guys getting banged up and whatnot, he's going to suffer from that more than the average team.
Yes.
So
And
we'll
I'm the
see.
same way. And though I will say that, I mean, I think right now, and I kind of given away some things, but I think Johnny and you are the top team talent wise, and then me. But I think Johnny and I are both. We need, nine players healthy and nine players not on bye week to put up our best scores. We don't have those fillers. However, you can only play nine.
Hmm
So that's why we have championships, because we have nine great players, and I'd rather have nine great players than 15 good players in
hmm
this league, because that's how you win. So
that's
and that's what Johnny's done, is built that team with great players, and hats off to him.
can't argue it. Yeah, can't argue it.
You know,
That's definitely what brought him the ship and the
yeah,
championship appearance last year as well,
yeah.
edging, edging me out on that
Well, that was the big
semifinals.
game. That was the
Just
big
brutal.
game. Yeah,
But
that
that
was.
was something else.
I just want to say too, because I was like, you and I and Johnny were the top three seeds, and I was proud to say that in that semifinal week, because people might say, well, Mr. Boyack was lucky because he didn't have to go through Johnny or Ryan to get to the championship, but in that semifinal week, I did have the top score,
Yeah,
so that was good that my team showed up, so that and then Johnny didn't do that great in the finals, so I was lucky there for sure.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure whoever you played, it was there wasn't a lot of stress on Sunday night for you during the semifinals. I'm pretty sure you
Did I
demolished
play?
over Shinwoo or
Did
something.
I play Sinnoh? I think
It may have been who was it?
before the game started, I popped champagne and we were drinking it. Sorry, Shinwoo.
I think you could say that about Shinwoo this season as well.
Poor Shinwoo. You
Tough.
know, he's
Let's
having a
go
rough
ahead.
go.
Let's go ahead and
But
move on to the Green Machine and the Mun Dynasty because we got the Green Machine hanging 157 with who's that left to go? Stefan Diggs to go on again another low scoring performance out of a league member in week 5,
right.
107.9 for Shinwoo.
So yeah. So um, I'm glad Alex is putting up because Alex has good players, and I'm glad he's putting up decent numbers finally. But if you look at Shinwoo's team, and granted he's had a lot of players on IR, but if they
Sure.
weren't on IR, would they even play? And except for Eckler, I don't see anybody who's really out that's hurting them. But let's just talk about this lineup for a minute. Is when you have to start Jalen Richard and Dontre Inman and Cedric Wilson in this league, you're in trouble. So he's struggling.
It's getting ugly in the flex positions for Shinwoo.
Yes.
It's fair to say. It's fair. But yeah, again, we saw this. I mean, this is something that you could see coming after the free agent draft. When you have a bench that's half full of either players who are backing up, suspended, not even on a team, you're going to have big time depth issues when we either can play. And Shinu has an absolute. He's got one player who scored points on his bench this week, and 0 players who scored points on his bench last week, which is big trouble for him.
Yes.
Big trouble.
And so and that's the thing is like, how do you get out of this? He's going to have to draft out of it. He's got Eckler will come back someday, and someday he'll have Tua starting, so he'll have another good quarterback. But other than that, it's hard to look down that bench and see any bright spots. And so he's got some work to do, that's for sure.
Yeah. Not to keep throwing shit on Shinwoo, but we do have to get to the chat real quick. We got Alex Boydock in the chat. Woo, 0-13? Question mark. Kevin, is Shinwoo going to win a game this season? And then Austin expressed some frustration at Shinwoo's free agent draft. But I mean, I don't think that's necessarily an invalid point. I mean, we could be talking an 0-13 season, based on this roster.
And looking at, I'm just looking at points scored for the season real quick.
Sure.
Shinwoo has outscored 4 teams, but I think moving forward, I don't see him not being a low scorer. I mean, his team is kind of hurting, and so I could see an 0-13. Yes, I could see that.
It's entirely possible. We'll have to see what he does with his team. I guess if he especially if he starts.
What's the worst record we've ever had?
We've had a 1-13 from Austin, and I want to say that was his championship hangover in year 4. Austin, you can correct me on that in the chat. I think Austin had a 1-13. I can actually check. I can actually verify that. That could be completely wrong. No, it was 2018. Okay, 2018. Austin did go 1-13. That'd been 2 years after the championship.
Wow.
But that was the worst
season.
The
thing. So, yeah, we have a legit. We'll have to get later in the season to see if it is possible, but we'll see if we have our first offer of the year, and then he can get. And then he can get what's his name from Clemson.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence.
We'll have to see.
Which we'll see.
It
But
is
yeah,
true though. It's very difficult to have an 0-13 or a 13-0 season. It's very statistically unlikely that those can either of those can happen. So
yeah,
I'll give Shinwei some credit. I'll say he's still favored to win a game, but you never know. We'll have to see
right. And
with
we'll
that.
see. And um, so, but that's the thing is his lineup has some players who can score. Like he only got 4 points from Cooper this week, which is amazing. And then now I don't know what Dalvin Cook's injury is like, but
Hmm.
he looks like he pulled a groin yesterday. I didn't
Hmm.
see a report. I didn't look up a report on him today, but it's very possible he could be missing Dalvin Cook and Eckler for a little bit. The poor guy.
Yeah,
Um, but what he's got to do is hopefully 1 week he'll run into somebody who has a tough bye week and maybe get a win. But other than that, I don't see him winning.
right. How about thoughts on Alex's team going forward?
So Alex's team going forward, again, this is the kind of thing where I think he can put up 150 something every week. Um, he's getting thin through some injuries, and I'm just trying to look through some of his bench players. But yeah, Alex is going to be. He'll have his up weeks where he's 160s, and he'll have his down weeks where he's 120s. So I look at Alex as being another one of those Austin type of teams, those 7-6. And who were we talking about? No, Chris type of 7-6. Although Alex, I think, could go 8-5. And I see Alex, and I have him listed as one of the playoff teams. So, um, this is a decent team. Kareem Hunt, Jonathan Taylor, the Jonathan worked perfectly for him. He is the man now. And then I think this Robbie Anderson pickup was very good because it looks like Robbie Anderson's the number one receiver in Carolina, which is amazing. So
Yeah,
I see him being competitive every week.
yeah. I don't just and I mean Alex too. Even losing Chubb, he had that insurance policy in Kareem Hunt,
Exactly.
so it really ends up being I mean, not a non-factor. I think Chubb is gonna would outperform Hunt, if each were given a season to lead the Browns in rushing, but it's not a huge hit. He can manage it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think at every position, I don't like his quarterback situation that much. He's got two, quarterbacks that can start Minshew and Cousins, but they're not going to be putting up 30 every week or any week really. Um, but when he can put in Diggs and Marquise Brown as his flexes, that's pretty good. I think those are
Yeah.
good flex options to have Diggs and Brown. So that's kind of like how you judge a team when you look at their flexes and who actually gets plugged in there. I mean, look at this week's he's got Diggs on against Inman and Cedric Wilson. So it's
Hmm.
like right there. So yeah, so Alex is going to be competitive for sure, and I do have him listed as a playoff team. So we'll see.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to again a lot of teams scoring in the low 100s this week. Very interesting. But Patrick going up to face the discount Belichick's, who, as we are well aware, were predicted by Brennan and Scott to have a very low record, and they have surpassed the prediction already. And we'll
Didn't
move on
they
to
have
2-3.
one of them had Belichick says 0-13, 0-13.
Yep, I think
Yeah,
maybe one of them gave him one win, but yeah.
and that's not going to happen. Now, I don't see him winning more than 4 or 5, but just the fact that he's getting 2 wins is pretty good. Um, so just the one thing and the Belichick's, and you can kind of see with the trade of David Johnson this year, and you know, is he going to be trading away some of his players for draft picks like that, and kind of wrapping it up? So if he trades away some good players, Obviously, he's not going to win that many games, but in the whole David Johnson trade just kind of signifies that he's not going for a playoff spot this year. It's going to be uh, take your 3 or 4 wins or 5 wins and move on,
Mhm.
and start loading up. So, and I don't know that this team would be a playoff team anyways, you know, but he can have good weeks, which is, again, it's nice that we brought in two um, expansion teams, and they actually have a chance to be competitive. And so I'm happy to see that. As long as they
Mhm.
don't beat me, that's good.
Yeah, I think we ended up doing a good job in terms of the format of the expansion draft and the protections and what we allowed to be taken and their what they got to reap out of our teams versus what we got to protect. I think we did find a nice balance because they're coming in able to win games, able to even potentially make the playoffs, but they're not coming in as the best teams in the league, which is something I wanted to avoid for sure.
Well, that's
But
exactly what you need to avoid. Exactly. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah,
And
so
so,
they'll be fine. Each of them have an
yeah,
opportunity to take these teams and probably win championships maybe 2 or 3 years down the road if they
yeah.
do things properly.
And if Kevin moves, and it's kind of interesting because I think Chris has built a team that can be competitive and he can make a playoff run. And Kevin might be able to too, but I think Chris is more likely. But if Kevin takes his playout or his players that he's drafted and trades them for draft picks and trades them for the future, like he's done with David Johnson and he may do with others, um, that's strategy too, and start building a
Mhm.
team. And right, so the process was allowing him to get some players that he could future. So good on him. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so this will be a good win. Um, I don't know if we want to talk about Patrick's team now, but I think that's on the downward
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, of course, Matthew Stafford on a bye week is not going to be a good week for Patrick, but I mean,
No.
literally
So
only having one playable quarterback is going to hurt
right.
him big time
Yep.
going down the rest of the season. So doesn't look
So
good. I
that
still think he has a decent team. I mean, he can put up points
right.
with a good with guys like Jacobs and Aaron Jones and Will Fuller in his start. Like he's going to put up points every once in a while, but it's
Exactly.
tough to see this team contending with only Matt Stafford.
Exactly. With one quarterback, and I see his plan. He was hoping that Haskins would go and take over and do his thing in Washington, but obviously that kind of failed. And that's the thing. Our quarterback is it's tough to get quarterbacks in this league, and I see where he's at, and it's just unfortunate for him. But yeah, him having Stafford and Aaron Jones on a bye this week, this was the good week to play Patrick for sure.
100%. Speaking of the quarterback things, back to the live chat. You got a couple of things to respond to right here. Um, so Austin, in reference to Shinwoo's team, would you say that Shinwoo has an average lineup, but the worst def in the league? And I think I'd agree. Assuming his starting lineup is healthy, I would say yeah, that probably makes sense.
Yes,
Good, decent lineup, but yeah, the def is the biggest issue.
right. But I think if like all things being like Johnny and I have depth issues, but Johnny and I's best lineups, I think, blow Shinwoo's best lineup away on a
Yes.
week to week basis. So Shinwoo, yeah, has a lineup that can be competitive, but I don't see Shinwoo putting up 180 ever. Um, you know, 160 maybe, but yes, Shinwoo, he needs health and he needs everybody to gel in the same week if he's going to win
Yeah.
anything.
If I'm Shinwoo, what I'm thinking is I just want to get some points on my bench as quickly as possible. So I want to get rid of some of these guys who just aren't playing and putting up zeros. I mean, you can see that through the evidence of his team is averaging, 4.5 points the last 2 weeks. 4.5 points. So just go ahead and strip the waiver wire clean of anyone who's putting up points, anyone who's maybe a decent backup, and at least just get some guys who are getting the rock every once in a while and just get some points on the bench, guys that can plug in.
Exactly, and or somebody like right, who's going to be there. If someone gets injured, they all of a sudden get the most targets on the team or get the most carries on the team. But, um, oops, sorry.
Oh, you're good. There it is.
Sorry, man.
Get that
So,
angle.
so
You're
I
good.
was just trying to move a cord and I just knocked it. So, am I good?
Yes. Yep. Doing good.
I just want to say one thing about waiver wire that, I hope he learned his lesson that Valdez Scantling is not worth 50 on a fab thing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like he's boxing himself out by doing that, and that wasn't a good move.
Yeah. Well, it was the double 50. He
Yeah.
used all 100 in that 1 week.
And my big
Which
joke with Alex that week was, oh my God, I bid 49 on Valdez Scantling. I don't know if anybody did.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good
so
thing.
he could have used that better, and he could have grabbed some decent players if he had, 15, 20 bid on them instead of spending all his money. But that's a learning
Yeah.
lesson, I hope.
Yeah. 100%. We'll see what he does going forward. I think he'll hopefully come out with a game plan for this next off season at least. But this season is obviously down the tube. Austin
Yeah.
also in the chat. This is interesting. No, I did not know this. With Alex Smith as the starting quarterback in Washington, Austin now has 6 starting quarterbacks on his roster.
Alex Smith.
I assume it is. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen. It's not gonna be Dwayne Haskins, that's for sure.
No, and
But
and so if Haskins or if Allen was okay, I thought they would go that way. But well, good. So maybe he could trade me one.
there you go. Trade talks. Well, we got Alex Poinak in the chat saying trade me Lamar. Alex wants Lamar, so
You want
maybe
your
some
15
potential.
points a game?
Alex is trying to buy low. We'll see if he
Well,
gets
I
a
tell
family
you,
discount.
Lamar is becoming a very average quarterback this year so far, and that may be the difference of me being a contender or not. So we'll see.
Right, right. It's going to be hard to replicate the points you got out of your quarterbacks last season.
Oh yeah, that
It
was
seemed to be more of a peak season in terms
yeah.
of that. I would
So
definitely say you'll have to find those points in the new production of some of those wide receivers.
that's it. So
We got Mr. Hornung in the chat.
hey, all
One
right.
word for you all: Rookie of the Year, baby. In reference to Justin Herbert, who I'm not following right now, but I'm guessing is still putting up a solid performance.
I have the game on. I thought he was going to talk about his Calvin. Oh no, wait, Ridley's not a rookie, but Calvin Ridley's having a good season for him. But I wanted to give him shit for Ridley putting up a goose egg the other day.
Oh yeah,
That was pretty unbelievable.
it's been a weird season for him because he's basically the number one wide receiver too,
Yeah.
or top 5
Well,
after
we
that.
can talk about that when we get to that matchup, which is a big
Let's get
matchup.
into it. That's the last
Okay.
one. The father and son right there. The
Yep.
DC is really looking for a win, not wanting to go take 3 straight L's. But unfortunately, that is the path that he will be going down against the Koalas, who are going to get back on top of 500.
So, well, here's what I want to say first is in week 2, I lost to the DCs, and it was the worst loss in my for the Mr. Beast history because I'm telling you, this team is being exposed. This team is not great. Sorry, Scott.
It's been exposed.
But that's why I'm so disappointed I lost to them. But
it's a tough loss to take, for sure.
yes. So, anyways, this week, and here's the thing. Um, when I do my rankings, and I guess I'm kind of leaking them a little bit, but Johnny obviously is one to me. I think you're number two. Um, the Vegas Koalas are in a legit battle for number three.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I would have to agree with that based on I'm loving what I'm seeing from Herbert. I'm loving what Kamara's doing this season. Miles Sanders with a little bit of a breakout week. I mean, he's basically getting production down the board. The only issue with his team is going to be, uh, looks like Philip Rivers has been not having the season he's really hoped for.
No, but
There,
and I don't know if matchups are going to matter or anything, but if like he had started Carson Wentz this week instead of Philip,
yeah,
Wentz was kind of crappy for a while, but then if Wentz can do stuff, he could put Rivers on the bench, and that is another thing. And when I
that's a good
talk
point.
about when you look at the strength of a team, look at who they're starting in flex. And
Sure.
his flex this week had to be Emmanuel Sanders and Larry Fitzgerald. And Sanders is having a great day, which that's because of Thomas being out, but Sanders is doing well. But when you look at that strength, I would not have put Sanders and Fitzgerald up as, if you rank people's flex, that would have been pretty low to me.
Mhm.
But now Sanders is having a great day, so that helps. But so that's why I'm just saying with the depth of his team, if you get good production, he can put up score because this game's not over and he's already got 160 points. That he'll be tough to beat on a week to
He's
week
gonna be tough
basis.
to deal with. It's a team to me, looking at his roster, moving up to 3-2. Looking pretty good. I think at a playoff spot, I'd probably even pencil them in. Probably
Yeah,
75% likelihood to make the playoffs, maybe even more at this point.
I
Probably
have
more at
him
this
in the
point.
playoffs.
Um, but it
And
might even make sense to go after somebody in a trade. Go after more
I think
more a star player from one of these lower
if
teams.
if because when you start Alvin Kamara, and I think Miles Sanders is becoming the workhorse in Philadelphia. Miles Sanders is to me going to become one of the top 6, 7 quarter or running backs in the league. You're all set there. Ridley and Slayton. Slayton is, because the Giants think Slayton's going to be up and down. But if he went and targeted a wide receiver, a number one, he would be good. He would be really good. So there's a trade advice for you. Go
And
get a number one.
and he's right. He's in the chat talking about his schedule. Looking at the Koala schedule coming up. Listen to this: Krispy Kreme, Mun Dynasty, Mike Vick, Mun Dynasty, Discount Belichick's are his next five. I mean, that's looking pretty juicy.
That's why
Um,
I've got him kind of penciled in as a number three seed when we go to the playoffs.
yeah, and it makes sense looking at his scoring variability here. Just going from week 1 to week 5, 171, 164, 163, 108, 160. So that's I think we're seeing a fairly consistent mean here, probably around the lower 160s for his team, which looks pretty
Yeah.
nice.
And that's pretty, yeah, if you can score in 160, you're good to go. Yep.
Yeah, he'll throw in a couple duds, I'm sure, throughout the
Yep.
season.
Well,
But
they like that 108, but every team's going to do that except Johnny.
most likely, yeah. But yeah, let's talk about Scott to close this out for this week because let's go into more about Scott's team getting exposed. What are you seeing in Scott's team that you're not liking right now?
Well, okay, we'll start with quarterback play. There's a group of quarterbacks that I just see on being um, moving in the wrong direction, and that's the old guys like Matt Ryan, and unfortunately Drew Brees is in that category too. So like this week, Matt Ryan putting up 6.94. That I think is going to be an every other week thing. They're just, he'll have his 25-point weeks, but he'll have weeks like this where it's just not good, and so you're going to lose points there. Kenyon Drake was highly ranked preseason, but he's very average, very pedestrian. So he's already, hurting with two things. And let's see, he has a Deontay Johnson injury. I'm just trying to think. Oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to be good for him, so he'll be competitive with him. And then Drew Lock, when he comes back, we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if he has to start Aaron Rodgers and Drew Lock just because Matt Ryan's going to be so inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
But
it seems like that Falcons team in general has lost motivation to really put up points.
And we'll see with a coaching change, and they still have great talent and receiver, but they need Julio back. But they, they're not a good football team overall. So we'll see what they do. But I don't know what Scott's. He'll put up 100 and I don't know what he'll put up today. He's got 11 points out of Lutz today. That's not bad. So he'll put up 120 something, but I don't see Scott putting up more than 140s every week. And we just talked about Mr. Hornig putting up 160s, and so I don't know that 140s is going to compete.
Yeah, so I think the math there, yeah. So Scott's this season so far has been at between 140 and 145. I think every single game. It's been the most consistent, most consistent set of scores within the league. So yeah, 140 points really get us.
With Scott picking up David Johnson, how does that rank on your list of good trade for Scott, good trade for Kevin? What do you think?
So, okay, there's a lot of variables that are factored into this trade that not everybody's going to think about, I think, on the service level when they see the trade. What we have to consider is Scott's financial interests, not only in the playoffs, championships, and bonuses, the normal league fees, but also the $100 bet he has with Alex, which I would argue is a bigger motivator to Scott than the championship this year. I think he realizes he's probably not winning the championship, but I think he really $100 is. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's more than what third place is going to make this year, or maybe equal. I don't know, equal to what third place will make. It's a big chunk of money. It's a buy-in, So I think Scott is very motivated to win this chunk of change, especially bragging rights and whatnot. Getting called out like that from Alex, there's probably a little bit of emotion that plays into this. But I do think he is weak at running back prior to this trade. And I said that on the last Monday Night Commissioner. I predicted Scott would make a move at running back with Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore, going with Frank Gore 2 weeks in a row. And I mean, it's just true. Look at this week. He got good production out of his running backs, and good production was 13 points and 15 points. That's good production for him. So he needs to do something to increase whatever points he's going to get at running back. And for him too, he can plug David Johnson now into one of these flex spots. One of the flex spots where he's probably averaging between 6 and 8 points on the season, and go from averaging 6 to 8 points to 12 to 14 points probably. Like, that's a big deal. 6 points will be a big deal for Scott if he can get an additional six points or so per week. So I like it in terms of this season for Scott. I think David Johnson is going to cause financial issues for Scott in terms of his cap. Obviously, I don't know what the likelihood Scott will be able to hold on to Johnson in the future is, but the truth is he did give up a nice chunk of change for him too, to Kevin.
Well, that's what I was thinking with that Kevin made out, I think, because of I would have put DJ at a second rounder. So to get a first and a third, I think, is a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, good on Kevin if he can get that. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how it
Important to
turns
note.
out.
Important to note, though. I can't even say this for sure, but I think the first rounder involved was my first rounder. That could be wrong. It could be the 2022 first, but I think it was actually my first rounder from this year, which borderline first, second round pick there, in terms of where it's going to be located.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. If that's the case, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but
So, yep.
if you told me this trade just happened and there wasn't the bet with Alex involved, I don't like it for Scott. I like it for Kevin.
Right.
With the with,
But
with the bet, I mean, I see what he's doing, but I don't like a team like Scott giving up first round picks. Like I don't think I've ever traded a first round pick without receiving a first round pick, and there's a reason for that. I think they're very valuable.
well, that's what
Um,
I think. Like, not only a first round pick, but if you give a first round pick, you should get a first round pick quality player back, which I don't think DJ is. If that makes
right,
sense.
and I'll give a secret. I'll give a big piece of knowledge to the league right now in terms of first round picks, in terms of the market value of a first round pick.
Hmm.
The market value of a first round pick doesn't even get close to reaching its peak until the month of March. Your first round pick right now, what it's worth, will be worth double what it is right now in March or April.
Yeah.
It does not make sense to trade those picks anytime during the regular season. It makes sense to receive them. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to receive them if you're a team you're not planning on making a championship run. But you really shouldn't be trading those picks. Your value basically. You're gonna whoever this and they're gonna want that first round pick. They're gonna want it in April. They're gonna want it in May.
Exactly.
So you
Right.
really shouldn't be trading them in terms of expected value and what you could be getting out of them. So
And it will
there
be
you go.
interesting to see. I thought this year's draft was just loaded with quality, where last year's was pretty good. But I don't know what this upcoming draft is like. I mean, how deep are we going to be able to go with really quality players? Because this past year, man, we got a lot of rookies who are really something else.
Yeah, it's going to be looked back on as I think a super high quality wide receiver class
Yeah.
is what we're gonna see out of this. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are already producing, and well, this is gonna be one of the better draft classes I think
Yeah.
that we've had. Um,
Yeah. I would agree. Um,
but
I just
we'll
see
see.
Herbert just threw another like 64-yard touchdown pass.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a fan. I think that's big. And we had Kevin in the chat too, sending in I think it was the tears emoji because he did miss out on Herbert by one pick, one with J.K. Dobbins at number 5 versus potentially having Herbert at 4.
Well, do you remember when Paul took Herbert over Tua? And some people were like, "Really, Herbert over Tua?"
Yep.
And then I don't know what Tua will be good. I don't know, but well, Herbert is already showing his stuff, and he's got 4 touchdown passes tonight. So that's pretty amazing.
Right. Yeah, and then yeah, that's right because Herbert was 4, Tua was 5, and then
Yep.
6 was J.K. Dobbins. So yeah,
Yep.
Kevin missed out on both those guys.
Yep.
But okay, yeah, true.
Right.
So
And then
good for good for the Koalas. Uh,
yep. No,
getting a
they're
guy
they're a
who's probably been
contender.
productive for a long time.
Yep.
Okay, I think it's rankings time. I want to hear the official rankings 1 through 12.
Okay. So here's what I see happening in the league this year. The champion uh, will be Johnny. Oh, maybe I should do them backwards.
Start at 12.
12th place
Whatever.
will be Shinwoo Mun.
Okay.
In 11th place will be the Discount Belichicks. And only because I think the Discount Belichicks are going to be trading some players and, kind of building for the future. I do think Mr. Yunt will end up being 10th. I think the Heroes Dynasty deserves. Did we even talk about their game?
Um,
Yeah, we
yes, because
did.
they faced Johnny. We just didn't really talk much about his team.
And because he's missing out on 40 points a week with Saquon and Dak,
Mhm.
that the Heroes, I think, is going to slide. So they'll be 9th. I think in 8th, we'll finish Dynasty champions. As much as Scott thinks his team is going to be great, it's going to be 8th. Sorry, Scott. And 7th place, just missing the playoffs. This is the big one. I have 2 battles here, and just missing the playoffs in 6th place. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm saying this right. I'm looking at the thing. It's going to be a battle for 6th and 7th between Mike Vick in a box and Krispy Kreme. So I'm going to just take a guess, and I'm going to say Krispy Kreme makes the playoffs at 6th.
Hmm.
And I'm going to say Mike Vick in a box finishes 7th. And
Okay.
those could be switched. In 5th place, I'm putting Alex's team, Green Machine. I'm going to put me in 4th, believe it or not.
Okay.
Only because the momentum and the schedule of Mr. Vegas Koalas is going to be 3rd place, which, yeah, but 3rd place is where they're going to be. And then Rye Bread, I've got you at 2nd, losing to Madden's Ultimate Team in the championship.
Okay.
So that's what I have.
My
So
reaction.
that's what it is.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
I think they're pretty fair rankings overall. I mean, I can't say much to disagree. I think even with Chris, just the fact that he's going to be 4-1 is enough for me to give him a likely playoff spot over Austin. I mean, like I said, he can potentially make the playoffs at 6-7. I mean, there's a chance, but 7-6 is going to make the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind. And
Right.
even if there's a tie, the tie will both teams will probably be in at that point. So he'll figure out a way to get 3 wins, I think, by the end of the season.
And that's what I was just thinking. Like when if his team is healthy and not on bye, he's got all players that can score. And I think a big part of it was picking up Robert Woods from the Rams, because I think Robert Woods is a potential 20-point guy, week in, week out. So if he puts up enough of those 20-point weeks, he'll be good. And I just want to say too that I think Mike and Vic in the box could be 7th, but they could even be 5th. So they could be the surprise team that gets those runs. But so it's kind of muddled in the middle. But that's what I think.
Yeah, something important to note about Chris's schedule too. So this is Chris in week 7, 8, and 9. He's going to go Mr. Yunt, Mun Dynasty, Mr. Yunt. So we could very well see Chris have 7 wins by week 9 if it all plays out well for him. It gets a little bit tougher after that.
Yeah.
But still, nothing crazy. His two double matchups are Patrick and Scott, so not a terrible draw for Chris.
And so, did he already play Scott once?
Yes.
Yeah, and Scott won, or did Chris won?
I think Chris won that game. Yeah.
Yeah, because Chris's only loss, I think, is to me.
That's correct.
Yeah, so he won that, so it could happen again. But we'll see, and we'll see. And I hope. I've been talking to a lot of people, and I'm sure everybody in the league has, but I hope some trades go through. just to mix the league up and have some fun with it. But we'll see how it all plays out.
For sure. Yeah, I think we're gonna start to see some trades uh, in the next couple of weeks with teams narrowing in on what their plan is going to be. It's either rebuild or chase a championship.
Yep. And that's the thing, right? More stuff will happen after week 6 or 7 that people will kind of decide where they're at and go from there.
Hmm.
So, we'll see.
Yeah. Well,
What what else do we have to address tonight? We got
um, I mean, I think we basically hit it. I mean, we touched on quite a bit. We can jump into a little preview of the week 6 matchups real quick. Just some just
okay.
some quick thoughts. I'll run through the list. Maybe give me a couple thoughts on each one. We got our first matchup, myself versus the Mike Vick in a box. The notable bye weeks will be the Chargers, Seahawks, Saints, and that looks like that. Um, for me, it should be my last week without Michael Thomas. Is what I'm
Well, that's
getting
what I
pretty
was going to say.
excited
So,
about.
so did you ever put him in your starting lineup? Uh, I mean, would you have started him this week? I mean, you would have if he was playing, right?
If he would have got the tag he was playing, yeah, I would have started him
Yeah. And then I,
for
I
sure.
never heard he had an altercation with a teammate. Did
Yeah,
was
he
there more? Was
got
there
in
a
a
more
fight and
clear story?
punched him in the face. I don't know what the motivation was. I couldn't tell you what the argument was specifically, but it looks like he gave a nice. He could have
Yeah, that's
played,
not good.
but a little discipline issue on Michael Thomas, unfortunately. Yeah. Um,
So let's talk about your quarterbacks next week.
mhm.
Um, you'll probably go. Well, I'm looking at Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to play against Kansas City. That should be a high-scoring game.
Monday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that's a Monday at 4, which is crazy. I don't know why they don't play at 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then what your second choice? You got Goff at San Fran. You've got. Let me talk about Deshaun Watson. Is Deshaun Watson going to improve with the coaching change? And is he going to be better the rest of the year?
Um, I mean, I think he gets better based on more of a scheduling situation. I think he got rid of a lot of the tougher matchups already. You
Yes,
know, in the
he
first
did.
4 weeks of the season, and really it opens up for him as the season goes on.
Yeah, because he had to play the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers the first 3 weeks, and that's rough.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
now it's Tennessee and Green Bay, Jacksonville, Cleveland, New England. So yeah, it's going to change.
yeah. So I like him going forward. I mean, I hate. I mean, I hate. I mean, I don't like the coaching move necessarily, but I think that's more in terms of like a general management kind of situation of Bill O'Brien's defects and in terms of coaching decisions like roster decisions. I think he
Right.
was probably overall good for Deshaun Watson, in terms of Watson's ability as a quarterback. But I'm not too worried about Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to be just fine right now for me at quarterback too.
Yeah. No, but I
Yeah.
would have to say my prediction would be you to win. Hey, I wanted to talk about something else that
Mhm.
Chris B had in the works, and I don't know if he wants me to tell you, but he is going to start handicapping our games
Mm,
and opening up betting on them.
okay.
So look
I
for
think
that
I,
in the
I,
future.
I think he hinted at that. I was texting him today. I'm
Yeah.
excited because stay tuned, league. I think we know who the guest will be on week 5 or week 6 for some official
Ooh,
announcements.
that'll be
Um,
good.
but I like this. I like the sound of that. I'll be interested to hear the methodology he's using to
Yep.
create these lines and whatnot. See what he's
Yep.
got.
Oh, that's the thing.
But
And I'm like, you're going to have to create your own setups because everybody now, it seems to be a trend with some teams to bench a bunch of players just to goof off with it. I don't know. Like Alex Boydock will be having 3 players in his starting lineup.
Oh yeah, yeah. Alex loves goofing around in the free lineup decisions.
Right.
There's
So,
no doubt
anyways,
about that.
in that matchup, I like rye bread still, just because you've got a lot of good options. You've got the best depth in the league, and even with bye weeks, you're in good shape. Although I see Kyler Murray's playing against Dallas, so he could have a 50-point day.
Right. Yeah. I could easily see. I mean, this isn't like a easy win by any means. I mean, I think I
You're
should
going,
be favored,
you'll
but
be going in the same way I was going in. That Austin's team could be 180 points or 120 points, so you never know.
yeah, that's true. And the final note on my team, and this is what my message to all members of the league. If you think my team might look a little weak right now, whatnot, bad coaching, whatever ends up, whatever the critique is, my team gets stronger as the season goes on. Just know that by week 8, when I've got that starting lineup, when I got McCaffrey and Thomas back, we're gonna be pumping out some dubs, baby. So get ready. I know I
Well,
got Johnny week 7 and 9. I fully intend on winning both those matchups. Um,
well, that's a good. That's bold.
I'm totally fine losing this week to Austin, but once I get that full lineup in, I fully plan on taking that taking that goose egg in the lost column for Johnny and wiping that out, cracking it,
That's it.
I should say. And go to Johnny and Alex. That's a pretty big matchup right there. What do you think there?
Well, or I like. I don't know. Johnny just puts up so many points, and it's like that. You go down that list, and it's like, although he has Russell Wilson on a bye next week, so that's a good thing for Alex to catch a Russell Wilson bye. But I mean, you're looking at Mahomes and Elliott and Mixon and Hopkins. Um, Julio, I don't know if he'll be back. It's a tough. It's a tough nut to crack right there. Although he also has Darren Waller on a bye, so his tight end is going to be Eric Ebron, so he'll save some points there. But well, I don't know. I don't know. With Waller and Russell Wilson out, he'll be losing some points. So maybe Alex has a chance. Who knows?
Yeah, it's not a bad not a bad week to catch Johnny without
Yep.
Wilson. So
Hmm.
I like that. Who Alex at quarterback? It's tough with all this deception Alex throws at you in the starting lineup with Jalen Hurts right in there right now.
Right.
But it looks
Oh,
like
come
he'll
on.
Gardner Minshew at home against
Minshew,
Detroit.
Minshew against Detroit and Cousins against Atlanta. So,
There you go.
he could be putting up good quarterback. Like when you go quarterbacks, Mahomes and Flacco, if Flacco plays, I mean, I'm assuming Darnold will still be out. Uh, who will score more points, Mahomes and Flacco, or Cousins and uh, Minshew with those matchups?
Hmm.
It's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
you know, so Alex, on a good day, he could be toe to toe with him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I call it a potential upset right here.
Yeah,
Could definitely
I
see it.
could see it. I could see it.
Okay.
So,
How about Chris going in to face the the hot Vegas Koalas right now? Uh, in week 6, we got big bye weeks for the Koalas. We're gonna have
yeah,
the Chargers and Saints. That's gonna hurt big time.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, we looked at the schedule and Mr. Hornig and his and that lineup. But when you pull out Herbert is out, and Kamara, and his tight end Hunter Henry. So I don't even know what other tight end he has. He's got Akins from the Texans. Right there, you're losing a bunch of points. And Chris really has no bye week issues. So, you know, Chris is going to have Tannehill and Roethlisberger starting. Who's another quarterback for? It's going to be Philip Rivers and Carson Wentz. So I mean Tannehill and Roethlisberger versus Carson Wentz and Philip Rivers. I got to give the nod to Roethlisberger and Tannehill, but that's where it all starts. So that could be a Chris win, which would be an upset in my mind.
One thing on Chris, real quick, and this really pissed me off this week. What he did to me in this matchup, assuming that he gets to win. This will age badly if I win, and I'm talking trash. But Chris took 3 players from me in the expansion draft.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods. They combined to put up freaking 68 points on me this week. Just those 3 players.
All
So
of them
that's
were
like half of his total.
awesome. Yeah,
That's over half
I
his
was
total.
thinking about that. I forgot about Robert Woods because I knew he took. Well, he only technically took Kelsey and Gurley from you, but he traded for Woods.
Good point.
But the fact is those were 3 of your ex-players who may beat you. Exactly.
Very sad. Very
and
sad.
they all had. I mean, and it's not like. And Gurley is surprising me. I mean, Gurley, he had a couple more touchdowns, and that guy he's an RB1, and I really didn't think he would be an RB1 this year, but he's doing the job.
Yeah, I like it. I like seeing Todd Gurley have some success there. That's cool to see.
Yep.
I didn't expect it.
But that's a really good point that 3 of your ex-players may beat you this week.
Yeah. I don't like that's very just Alta. I don't like players going out and doing that to me, getting that revenge. Let's go to week 6. There's loading, so I can't see the matchups.
We'll see how that game plays out.
Yeah. How about Shinwoo and Scott? It's not your 2 favorite teams, but what do you think?
Let's see. Shinwoo is already weak, and then now he's got a bye week for Carr and his tight end Jared Cook. Yeah, so I would have to say this is going to be a Scott win. He's got Aaron Rodgers back. Matt Ryan won't be as bad as he was last week. So I would have to say Scott's going to cruise next week.
Yeah, Scott's looking good to get back to 500. I think I don't see how he loses this matchup. Just way too many issues on Shinwoo's roster with that Oakland bye. To conceivably put up a strong performance, it's just not going to happen.
No.
Not too much to say. So good for Scott. We'll go to Mr. Young and the Heroes Dynasty deserves. Brendan, obviously, probably not looking at making a big playoff run this year. Will be interesting to see his tactic and strategy going forward on his lineup, what he does. But facing Patrick is going to have a Josh Jacobs bye week and also be very weak on quarterback as well.
Right. He does lose Josh Jacobs, but he does gain Aaron Jones. So it's kind of like a trade-off right there. So we'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, a single quarterback team is going to be tough to win with. But they're both single quarterback teams now, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, they both will be Tom Brady versus Matt Stafford here.
Yeah. So let's see. And so it's Swift and Akers, Galladay and Lamb. So I think and Allen Robinson for now that we're PPR, Allen Robinson is a nice addition for. He's put up. He only had 19 this week, but his past 2 weeks were 28 and 23. So, although CeeDee Lamb has all of a sudden become a superstar in this league, so we'll see. That's going to be a good matchup. That one, if Chris handicaps that one, I would have to say that one's going to be pretty tight on predictions.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick a winner, I don't know if I could. I would have to pick. I would just pick Patrick, just because.
Okay, I like it. Going forward to the last game, we got yours truly the beasts and the discount bellies. What you thinking?
I better not lose. I will say this though, I'm losing my Seahawks in Carson and Metcalf this week, and I'm
Yep.
doing one quarterback with Drew Brees. So I get Devontae Adams back, and but then I'm pretty struggling for, like I said, this is where I'm thin, when I lose this. So, uh, you know, uh, my running backs this week, who do I got? I've got Derrick Henry will play and Ronald Jones, so that will be my running backs. And then I can put in Devontae Adams, but then I have to have I'm going to be playing a player like Greg Ward or whatever his name is, Ward there for instead of my quarterback.
Right.
And that's going to be a good opening for him. But like I said, I don't know. I'm looking at his lineup, although he won't have David Johnson, so he'll lose a running back. I still got to say I'm going to win this game.
Yeah, I think I like you to win too.
Yeah.
If, looking at what Kevin's got going on
Yep.
with his
So,
skill positions at least.
well, that's what I think. And I need Lamar. Lamar's got to get going. He's playing the Eagles this week, but I need 25 a week from Lamar instead of been getting. Well, he's had 3 games under 20 this year, and I don't think he had any under 20 last year. He
Hmm.
was going to be 30 points a week last year. And he started
Right.
off good this year, and then it's kind of, well, he had still win this one and go to
Okay.
4-2.
I hate to
So
burst your
yeah,
bubble
so that's
going
what I think.
forward. I hate to burst your bubble looking forward right now with Lamar, but week 7 he got a bye week, and then he's going to come back from the bye. Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, New England. This will be a tough stretch right there.
Yes.
Defenses.
And however, like Wentz just had a decent day against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So it can be done. Who played Indy this past week? That was Mayfield. Well, I don't know what kind of points Mayfield put up against Indy.
Right. Like 15, I
I
think
don't know.
about.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the Patriots. So yeah, those are tough. My only hope is that uh, that he plays like an elite player, because it didn't matter who he played last year. He was good, and that's what I need him to be again. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
that's completely what the difference is between me last year and this year, is could be is just the 15 points a week I'm losing from him. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
Right. I'll
But
I'll be awaiting these spreads that our new expandee will hopefully release maybe this week, maybe next week, who knows. But
right.
pretty hyped about that.
So good. Any good chat that we need to clear up?
Um,
I
any
don't
good
see
chat?
chat.
We got Mr. Hornung is excited about the lines. He is in, so we're gonna have some money coming
Good.
in. It'll be interesting to see how Chris is gonna take these bets. What kind of juice he puts on these.
Right.
Alex says Wentz is facing Baltimore, so that goes into Mr. Hornung having a potentially rough matchup
Oh,
without Herbert and then Wentz at Baltimore. So
so that's a really good point. Gosh, because you look at, I don't know if you saw what Joe Burrow. I mean, granted he's a rookie, but he'd been putting up good numbers, and then last week against Baltimore it was a little rough.
yeah,
So that could be that could be in Chris's favor. With Herbert out, and Wentz against Baltimore. So you're right. That could help
yeah.
Chris. That's a
And
good
then
point.
Austin, the last chat we have, Chris B still working that voodoo matchup magic. I
Yeah,
agree with that. Yeah,
and that's why it's like as this year goes on, you don't know what you're going to run into as far as what you have to put out there or what other people have to put out there, and you never know. And I just hope that with the COVID stuff that we can hopefully get back to just everybody playing games. And I'm assuming that the NFL site, because there's been a million changes with the league, the real league.
Hmm.
Like, I'm assuming all those changes have been put in here.
Um,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
you mean like PPR and all that?
well, no, I'm saying like next week the Bills are playing the Chiefs, and they were supposed to play somebody else, but now that game's been moved. You know what I mean? It's like all
Yes.
those changes. So
I think
I
they've
just
been
hope.
doing a good job staying up to date from what I've seen. Even on
Right,
the COVID designations, they've looks like they've been pretty on top of it in terms of getting those out relatively quickly.
right.
So good job to
Um,
NFL.com so far.
I don't know if you've been looking at this game, but the Monday night game is in overtime.
Is it really?
Yeah, I know
Shit.
we
Okay.
don't even watch it. And the Saints
Yeah.
are in field goal range, but I don't even know if they have the ball first or not. But
Okay. Yeah.
anyways,
All I know is that Keenan Allen hasn't come back to the game yet, so that
no.
sucks. But
So that's not going to be good for you. It would have been really interesting if Keenan put up, 20 points tonight, and you had a
yeah.
15-point lead to see what would happen tomorrow. But
I mean, 11 points after the first drive. Looks like it was going to be a big night.
Chris was like, texting me like, "Oh no, this isn't that good." But I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we'll see what happens." And then wow, and hopefully also I hate injuries, and I hate that things like Dak Prescott and well, like McCaffrey, and I hate when all those guys go down.
It's not good.
Big names like this, no, but
Oh, it's been a crazy year for injuries. So hopefully the second half of the season, it goes maybe back to a more normal level of injuries. Whereas it's
right,
been disproportionately high for sure.
it has been high this year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's not good. So,
Yeah.
anyways, this league's been a lot of fun, and I'm really glad to have uh, this Monday night chat. It's just fantastic,
Oh,
and
for sure.
I know you don't like the DC chat during the week, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. People. Well, first of all, my viewers don't. We don't cross watch. So my viewers don't watch the DC stream, and the DC stream people they don't
Probably don't
watch
watch
mine.
now.
So we keep it. We're totally against each other right now. So if you're watching
That's
this,
right.
don't find some plans on Wednesday night that don't involve YouTube Live. I'm just joking.
All right.
Go support the DCs. I think he has a good guest on this week. I'm not exactly sure who he booked, but I have an idea. And let's just say his team is running pretty hot right now, so we might have some good advice, have some good stories. Should be a good week for the deep diving with the DCs. I heard he might also just wear the speedo and nothing
Oh
else.
my gosh.
So there's a good. I'm telling you right now, there's a good chance Scott will be only in a speedo. So
That
make
will
sure
lose
you're watching live.
that that will lose viewership.
I think the plan was to gain viewership, so I don't know. I'll have to talk to him.
Well, all right. So yeah. So anyways, Ryan, we'll see what happens. I don't know if, and I don't know your feeling on the league. If anybody can unseat Johnny this year, or to me, he looks like the favorite. So we got work to do if we're going to get there, and somebody's going to beat him.
We've got work to do, but the truth is, I don't think any team has reached their full potential yet. The highest scoring week I think so far has still been in the low 200s. So we still
Yeah.
haven't even eclipsed our highest scoring
So
weeks in previous seasons
like what? Yeah. So
with
that's
PPR.
and with PPR, which is amazing because you're right. There's going to be weeks where somebody gets two 40-point receivers or something,
Yeah,
and yeah. So you're right.
we're also
So
12
let me.
team though, so that factors into it.
Right. We
spread out
thinned
the
out
we
thinned
spread
out
the
our talent a little bit.
yeah.
So the Saints just kicked a field goal, and now the Chargers will have the ball to see if they can do anything in overtime.
Okay, so yeah, so Chargers have a shot. That'll be good.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Um,
that's it.
last thing, this
Good
is a good
chat.
comment. Our channel. So as you know that I'm making about 100 grand an episode off of YouTube monetization policy and ads for you guys watching the ads as we go. So this is how I'm supporting myself and buying, all the Lambos. But yeah, we could get demonetized if Scott only shows up in a Speedo and if there's any nudity. So let's actually probably not have that. So everybody text Scott, wear some clothes, no Speedos or something, and just let him know we want to still be making our profit on the channel. But
And
yeah,
his guest.
and the guests. So everybody show up in clothes, please. We'll have to use it. That's for a different streaming service, not for YouTube.
That's right.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Um, that was episode 5. My guest, Mr. Beasts. It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Ryan. Thanks a lot for doing this, and maybe I'll be on again someday.
Absolutely, yeah. Good luck the rest of the season.
All right.
All right, cool. Peace.
Good night.
All right.